Alright, so I've got my meat here that I actually just shot yesterday, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it up and take a little bit of video and show you how I do it. And I don't know if it's necessarily the right way or the way everybody should do it, but it seems to work out pretty good for me. This one I packed out first without my backpack, and I didn't have my game bags with me, so I am going to start with this one. I've got the hose running out here. I'm just going to bring the hose in, kind of rinse things off as I go, each piece. And the outsides of the meat usually build up a little bit of a crust. That's actually kind of good for protecting your meat. But when you cut this up, it's going to come off. So if you're worried about those bubbles and thinking it's crusty and that the meat's bad, it's actually not. So I'm gonna go grab the hose here and rinse this off. It's really hard. Where he died was all dirt, pine needles, and tried really hard keeping this meat clean. Say it fared out pretty well. And if there's ever a creek where you're at, it's always a good thing just to throw it in the creek. I had to do that with this first piece here, but everything else, we took this elk out in 2 loads. First load, a buddy of mine took the head, and I took a hind quarter, and then second load out, I had a hind quarter, back straps, tenderloins, and then my buddy had the 2 front shoulders. So this will just kind of show you that crust that builds up on there. Just tear this off, and it'll go right in the garbage. And like I said, it'll end up getting cut off anyways, but I just want to clean off what I can. This is looking like some nice, tender meat. This bull's gonna be good eating. When you're also cutting them up, you want to make sure that there's not a lot of hair. You don't want that hair in the meat. Really hard, easier said than done, but all this kind of stuff that you do to prep it in the long run, it'll make your meat taste a lot better. Yeah, I'm going to get my table set up, my knives cleaned up. I got this Outdoor Edge game processor kit. I've used this many times, and I really like it. You got your caping knife, your skinner, your boning and fillet knife, big butcher knife, cutting board, and then bone saw or bone scissors. I use this to cut tailbones and stuff if I have it with me. Your bone saw, meat fork, and when you have a rib cage, I've used this a couple times. This is nice, a rib cage spreader. They make a really nice kit that really helps you take care of your meat. So we'll get all that set up. I'll be back. Okay, so I'm ready to cut into my meat now. I like to usually come to the front side, and you can see the bone running right here, and I'll just carve it right off the bone. As close as I can. And this is just the same as in the field. If you're gonna bone an animal out, so you don't have to carry all that bone in your pack, you do the same thing. You just get as close to these bones as you can. Put your fingers in there, cutting the tendons. Put that tendon there. Probably move this a little closer to show you. Sorry about all the moving around here. So, like I said, I cut the tendon right here. This is the leg bone that comes down, and it comes clear down into here. You'll end up cutting straight down this, and you just peel it right off that bone as close as you can. And you'll leave a little bit behind, you'll see that, but I mean that's a pretty decent cut there. You get all this off. Some more tendon here. See how nicely that's coming away from the bone here. Just work from one spot all the way around. And when you do have it hung up like this, one thing you want to watch is make sure not to cut this tendon, because as soon as you cut that tendon, this whole thing will drop. Backside here. So again, I got another tendon, cut through that tendon, follow this bone all the way down.
She's got a way with words. She sounds like such a sophisticated lady. That's Blake Shelton, 105.5, 105.9 The Hawk. Corey Daniels here. Tomorrow I'm going to be making my way walking a mile in high heels. Just for the ladies. It sounds goofy. It looks
Wrap around this tendon over here now. Gonna follow it right down. Try not to cut that, but if I do, don't laugh at me.
You still got plenty of time to try out some high heels and to make it out to the event. Walk a mile in her shoes. Give us a call 535-1055 for more details.
When it comes to your child, there's nothing you want more than fast, gentle care. Ermac, the only ER in Idaho Falls, has 24-hour care from physicians board certified in emergency medicine and nurses a specialist skilled at taking care of children. In fact, Ermac far exceeds the national average for pediatric ER readiness, so they can give the best care to the nearly 14,000 kids they treat each year. Rest assured your child is in capable, caring hands. Visit ErmacKidsER.com or text 23,000 for
This here.
It's not too late to take
I'll
advantage
just
of
basically
Jewelers' amazing
cut this
rates.
whole thing in half.
They sell so big it's been several years in the making. Generally speaking, birthdays are great.
Cut along the same path.
So everything in our store that has had one or more birthdays is ridiculously marked down. So low you won't be able to pass it up. Bridal rings, engagement sets,
Tendon's kind of a fun game.
earrings, bracelets, and more in all the most spectacular colors.
All this inside here, that's nice,
And if it's had
nice,
one or more
fresh
birthdays, it's all 50 to 80%
meat
off.
here.
So you don't have to ask, wonder, or haggle. It's plainly marked with absolutely the best deal possible. And take advantage of Alpine Jewelers' 24 months interest-free financing OAC. In-store goldsmiths to provide amazing service and make your jewelry dreams reality. Alpine Jewelers also offers you the most cash or trade for your unwanted jewelry. Don't miss Alpine Jewelers' Red Tag Sales Event going on now. Alpine Jewelers next to Edwards Theaters in Idaho Falls, Main Street in Rexburg, and in the Village Shops, Twin Falls. Want to be a Hawk star? Call Corey now at 535-1055.
Sometimes it's nice to put this on the table too, but since I have it hung up, just leave it.
And big old dark sunglasses. Well, I would be like, as your attorney, I advise you to run a very fast car, tape recorder for special kind of music. Kind of blows my weekend because that's where I
Out.
have to go if you. And with me as your attorney, we have to go top speed. It's Corey Daniels in the afternoon on 105.5 and 105.9.
Follow this bone along. And like I said, I'm sure I'm sure there's a lot better ways to do this, but this works for me and saves me quite a bit of money not having to go to the butcher. But I'll tell you what, they probably do better than I do. Here, so you can see where the muscles separate in this and come. I mean, this is paper thin here. I'm touching my thumb and come right down this segment there, and this segment here, and you're gonna end up eventually cutting. There's a lot of gristle, silver, muscle linings. You'll end up cutting out a lot of that, and you want the meat to actually look just like this without, I mean, you're going to leave some of this in here, but for the most part, that's all going to end up coming out. So that's a good chunk of meat you can start cutting on there. Just dropped it right in the cooler there with the water that I told you about. And I'll keep cutting on this a little. Finding the separations. This bone's coming right down here. That's kind of what I was saying. This knife's kind of already filling up on me a little. You can kind of decide how you would want it separated. I mean, I would just tell myself this is all rump, and I'm either gonna put it into steak or a roast, or little bits and pieces will go to make burger, or I mean there's just so many ways to cut this up. You can see again those muscle linings in there. Just literally it ends up falling apart. You can see I haven't hardly done anything there. And that's all muscle lining that I was telling you ends up getting cut out. So I'll make sure I catch this here. So that just goes exactly how I was saying, you know, half that bone. So now I'm going to have this half that I'll cut off, but I mean that's a good solid chunk of meat right there, 15-20 pounds. Throw it in the cooler. So I mean it's really not too bad. You're going to get into some chunks here. You know, I might want to keep this section right here all together, and then I'll keep this section together, but as long as you get in that muscle lining, it'll all come right apart. I mean, it's really pretty easy to find, and it's super soft. If any of you have hunted and skinned an animal, it's almost the same membrane that's in between the skin and the meat, obviously. So there's that part of it. Focus on cutting the meat here. Got my cutting board. Kind of wash some of this off here. huge chunk of meat there. So that's that outer crispy level that I was telling you about. I'm gonna flip this over and I'm gonna find my separations here. So again, I've got that membrane. Just gonna cut it. There's a chunk to work with. All this fat, I mean, if you guys like fat, you can keep it. I prefer to cut all my fat and gristle and silver. I don't really want that in there. You'll find that your flavor depends on this kind of stuff. So if that's the flavor you like, you know, you're more than welcome to it. But there's kind of a lot of that gamey taste, and just this stuff right here. So again, I've got that membrane. Come in, cut my membrane. Another chunk of the rump to work with, and I can even take it even further into this membrane. It's crazy how many linings are in muscle. You would never know that they're separated like this. It's not one big giant muscle. It's actually lots put together. So sometimes you gotta kind of just dig your finger in there and find those separations. This is a big tendon right here. I'm not gonna want this tendon, so I'll come in here with my knife. I'll cut this free. That's where this fillet knife comes in quite handy. And you're thinking to yourself, you know, there's meat on there, dude. There's a lot of meat on there, but you'll actually leave some. You're not gonna get it all. So I'll flip this over. I'll cut that, and you can see that's that tendon or silver or gristle, whatever, you know. And it has a little bit of meat on it and fat, but you don't want that in your meat. You don't want that in your steak. That's what'll end up being really chewy and turn people away. Sometimes it's tough to really get your hand on it. And the thing that'll help on some of this is if you can get in under this, and I'll come back around, cut it off. If you take your fingers and you hold that and you actually cut into it, it'll fillet it off there quite nicely. And I'm pretty picky, I'm pretty particular. I like all this gone. As much as I can without sacrificing a lot of meat. 'Cause it really does determine how your meat is, how tough it is, how gamey it is. Sometimes you just never know, and you know, I guess we've done this enough times that we've found out what we like and what we don't like. Cut this top layer off here. I'm gonna get into that outside where it's got some of that dirt and dryness on it. But then you're getting down to that nice marbly texture steak. I mean, That's gonna be some tasty stuff right there. And you can see where this is all dried up and I've got dirt on it. I'll just come right on the outside of this here and I'll get rid of that. It's sat out in the weather. And then again, you know, I'm left with this nice marbly. So again, I'll come in here, cut all this away. And then, yeah, it's not the most uniform or beautiful steak, but that'll cook up nicely, and you'll be surprised at how much you actually will enjoy this. Silver off there again. So this will be a steak, and we have actually found out. We used to do. Turn this up here. We used to do the whole plastic wrap and paper, and you know, it'd take a really long time just to get meat processed and put away. I'll probably put, you know, 2 or 3 of these together. I'll come in here, I'll try to wash it off as best I can. Just make sure there's no hair, dirt. You'll probably end up emptying this and refilling it, emptying and refilling. But you know, I'll throw this in a bag here and close it probably about 3/4 of the way. I said 3/4 of the way here. I'm gonna leave a little bit of space in my opening to purge some of this air out. And this is kind of the nifty trick. Take this bag here and drop this meat right in the water. So, and you can see this here. I've squoze all that air out of this bag. That gives you a nice vacuum seal. Decreases the amount of freezer burn you're gonna have. If you've got steaks that are gonna be left in there for a year, you know, 2 years, they'll probably last a good 2 or 3 years. And then I'll take a Sharpie after I dry this off a little bit and write 2016 bull elk, and then set it in the freezer. And you can still take this and wrap it up and throw that right in the freezer, and it doesn't take up hardly any space. And it cost me $15 to get 28, 3 of these with 28 freezer bags in them. And I don't think I'll use all of them, but I mean that's pretty cheap. $15 processing your own meat. And then we got a local guy that will actually take, you know, say this is the bad meat here, but I'll have chunks of good meat that are left over, and I'll want to turn that into burgers, sausage, jerky. Usually we make our own jerky too, but he does the burger for like 25 cents a pound or 50 cents a pound, something like that. And you got to bring it in something, but he'll grind it up, he'll season it, and then you just go and pick it up and you bag it up just the same way. You know, you might want to take half of a gallon baggie full of burger and freeze it just the same way. Put it in water, seal that up a little bit, and you're processed. You're good to go for a lot cheaper than what you would pay somebody else to do it. I mean, said, you look at this meat here. That's nice processed. It's gonna be a good steak. So a lot of the other ones, I might cut to be a little more uniform. We'll get in here, and it'll be a little more blocked out. Oops. So I've already kind of started the block there. Again, I can come in. I know all this is bad. I mean, I don't want dirt in this. So get down to that nice meat. Got this gristle off here. You really don't have to be so particular. You don't have to make it so difficult where you're second guessing yourself. I mean, literally, you're not gonna want to eat this. This is gonna run right through into this. I can feel that, and I can. That's paper thin right there. So it's not a lot you really gotta worry about. Come in here, get all this off. Yeah, knife needs a little good sharpening again. So, I can come in here and I could say, well, let's go about half this. Okay, cut it there, cut it there. To me, that's probably a pretty decent sized steak, but that's gonna be a good steak. So, come in here, set that there, and I can even still, figure we'll flip that around there. I'm gonna come back in, I'm gonna cut. This is that crusty layer that I was talking about again. Crusty layer with fat, gristle, and all that's gonna hold that sagebrushy taste, or whatever you shoot, wherever it lives. People are worried about it's gonna taste like what it eats. And I'll repeat this process for everything, for the tenderloin, the shoulders, the back strap. It's the same thing over and over. Just cut off all this garbage, And then I could take, this whole chunk, and this is a rump. So a lot of people like the rump roast. I come right in here, and I can call this a rump roast. This will peel apart. You could go a little bigger, you could go a little smaller. I don't have a really big family right now, so I could probably segment a lot of this off into different things. But I really don't have a specific name or specific. I just kind of write down, like I said, 2016 bull elk rump meat, or backstrap, or you might want to know what it is and say, wow, that tasted a lot better, or this cooked a lot better on the grill, or this cooked a lot better in the slow cooker. This baked a lot better. We like to make our own jerky, so it made jerky better. It made good burger. That one you probably won't know as much at all. Burger's kind of just all mixed in. It is what it is. But you just get down to this nice healthy meat, and you can see in here, this is a drier, it looks like jerky, but it's not. It's just been dried on this outside here, and your fat and your silver lining on this outside here versus this nice red plentiful meat. And I'm actually really impressed with this bull right here. He's got some really nice meat on him, and it's fairly tender, so I'm excited to eat him. But yeah, that's my take on game processing. There's probably a lot of other ways you can take care of it, and it is a lot easier just to take it to the processor and have them do it for however much. You know, it's probably about $240, $280 for me to take this bull in, whereas, like I said, I bought almost 90 freezer bags for 15 bucks, and this bull will sit nice in my freezer for a couple years, if not more. But he probably won't last that long. So yeah, that's about all. So just get it taken care of as fast as you can. Heat and moisture, hanging in heat and moisture is definitely not good for meat. It'll make it spoil a lot faster. You know, we do kind of like to hang it for a day or two, maybe 3, but I definitely wouldn't go more than that, and 3 would have to be when it's really cold. I shot this bull in the middle of September. It's been fairly cool, but it's normally a lot hotter, you know, high 70s, 80s, sometimes even 90s. So you just want to get this on ice. You want to get it taken care of as fast as you can, and you'll have some really nice, healthy meat that you can eat for the rest of the year, through the winter, through your barbecues. You know, it doesn't matter, but I can guarantee you'll enjoy it, and it's kind of a nice hobby to learn. Like I said, I'm not a butcher, but I've cut my meat for probably 10 years now, and never had a steak that I just said, man, that is disgusting. I just do not like that from me. I've had it from other people, but from my own family, myself, we cut up my dad's moose, all our elk, all our deer, and take our burger in. That's about it. But it makes some delicious meat. So that's about it. Just repeat the process, and you'll enjoy the outcome. Thanks for watching.